All right, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies and gents. This is what 9:17 in the evening, and I should have been, but I am on my way to what they refer to as nighty night because it's been one of those days. Um, I decided that I am going to keep poking my head out every once in a while to do videos, especially on subjects like this. If you've not heard of this site, and most of you have not, didn't even know it existed, it's called ebolavirus.net. Now, the unique thing about this site is all it talks about is Ebola, because there are some people who recognize that they are purposely allowing this virus to spread. Now, if you've not been paying attention, they keep giving us the wrong numbers, and that's irritating. But what this site does is it literally every single day, you don't even need to refresh the page. It literally updates itself every single day, letting you know what's going on and what's happening. Now, the CDC is now confirming that the virus is eventually going to be uncontrollable because they are not able to get into the area and there are too many people who are contagious and that they're not there to help stop the spread of the virus, and eventually it's going to be a epidemic in the area. Well, this is the very same. They keep trying to make us think that this is a new strain, that this is a new outbreak, and it's not a new outbreak. At first, they said this particular one had happened in Kiev, Congo. I believe I pronounced it incorrectly. I don't know. I don't see the name in front of me, so I can't pronounce it. I don't know the pronunciation without the name being directly in front of me. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, they said that started when the last outbreak in the Congo ended, which was at the end of July. However, Kivu, sorry, there's the word right there, North Kivu. Okay, they said the current outbreak in the Congo started in April. However, I'm gonna see if we can pull up that article. There is, and I don't remember what day, I didn't plan this. Okay, want you to understand something as well. This is October 30th. They say Ebola total hits 276. Okay, so between the 30th of October and the 5th of October, the 5th of November, there are now 300 cases. Now, we know that there's more than that, and the reason why we know there's more than that, because they are saying that there are at least, every Ebola patient, there are at least 6 cases that are unreported. That's the average. You're going to hear that in just a moment, because I'm going to play a video that I've had on my computer for at least a month and a half, and I've never watched it, which is interesting because normally that's what I do. That article was too far back, so I cannot show you the article where it literally showed that this particular outbreak started in July. Now, they were reporting initially when the other outbreak they claimed ended, which they said was the number 9th outbreak, that when it ended at the beginning of August, and this one they started reporting towards the mid-August and end of August, they're claiming that, oh, well, now this one started back in July, which means it was part of the same one that had started, pay attention, in May of this year. Now, this has been going on since May, and only 300 people. See, we just had, this is the 6th, so it wasn't the 5th. It says Ebola outbreak reaches 300. Now, the other one just said 276. Now, you're saying that's about 25 people in less than 6 days, 7 days. Well, no, it's actually more than that. They're not giving us the total numbers, plus they can't get into the area. You'll find that the administration has told the workers at the CDC and other specialists that they are prohibited from helping in the Congo area until the area and the crisis and the fighting can be brought under control. So basically, The doctors from the U.S. have been told to stand back. They're not being allowed in, the so-called experts, because of the fighting. And again, they're allowing it to spread. Now, I have an article video that I'm going to play. That's why there's no music at the beginning, no music at the end of this video. I have a video I want to play. And I want your opinion, ladies and gentlemen. So, without any further ado, now this video is not about the old outbreak that happened between 2013 and 2016. The first outbreak started December 2013. The reason why they say 14 because it was the last month of the 2013, so there's no reason to count it. However, you're going to hear in this report them talk about the fact that Ebola can be spread through the air and how they discredit it at the very end by saying, but that hasn't been confirmed. Okay? And then you're going to hear, well, you're not going to hear, but if you bother to go to ebolavirus.net, if you bother to go there, you'll be able to take a look and see that they reported, I think it was something like 30 new cases in a week. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought Ebola was one of those things that if you got it, the symptoms started off mild. Well, they were showing that people were getting this particular virus and dying within a week. Individuals sitting up there, showing up with Ebola and dying within that very same week. So there's something different. Now, of course, they did say this is a different strain. Many of you feel and realize you don't have anything to worry about. And you are absolutely wrong, but that's okay. You can feel that way. Pay attention to the fact that they're still allowing people to travel, still allowing international flights. You've seen what was happening a couple of weeks ago, well, actually a month and a half ago, about the individuals coming in from foreign countries and them having to quarantine planes because individuals were getting sick within a couple of hours of being exposed to whatever it was. They were getting sick to the point where they were, according to the reports, coughing up blood and sneezing and expelling mucus profusely, where one doctor reported that a woman actually died on one of the planes as a result of having gotten sick within that short time span of that flight. Now, we don't know if I can't tell you if the flight was 14 hours, 16 hours, but certainly when the passengers were saying that many of these people who were on the plane who were reported being sick were sick before they got on the plane, and then they tell us it's flu-like symptoms, and then they let everybody else go. Okay, I believe it. Here's the story.
And unless something is done to contain Ebola, cases will rise dramatically. That's the bleak prediction from the World Health Organization. Deborah Pata is in the Liberian capital of Monrovia with volunteers determined to eliminate the disease.
Now, this is an old report. That's why it says the outbreak growing by 1,000 cases per week. So this is the old report. This is from the 2014-15 time period. But I want you to pay attention. The same exact thing that happened then is happening now. The only problem is the outbreak where it was before was closer to the coast. That way they could bring people in, they could quarantine the area, because you've seen what Liberia did. It quarantined its area, and the Sierra Leone quarantined its area, and that's why you didn't hear too much of it getting out of those areas, because those individuals were very good at that. However, here's the Congo, where there are so many different fighting factions. It creates a problem. They did that on purpose. They just needed to find a place where they could do what they do. If you read some of the articles that are on that site, and these are not articles that it's produced by that site, these are articles that they are gathering. They're taking the world news, they're taking the articles from the Washington Post and all these other newspapers, and they are putting them on the site. But the site's main focus is on the Ebola spread and so on and so forth. Some people will hang around and pay attention. Some people, this will be very important. Now, again, I don't know, cannot tell you whether or not it will be Ebola. All I can tell you is I do know for a certain fact that when the disease, the pandemic, whichever one it is, does break out, you're going to say that knew what he was talking about. I don't know how he knew, but he knew what he was talking about. Hold on.
Good morning. Here on the ground in Monrovia, while it's clear there is a greater awareness of Ebola, it's not enough to stop the spread of the disease, as the latest statistics from the World Health Organization show. Every week, the statistics on Ebola infections go up. And once again, the news from the World Health Organization is grim.
It's been running about 1,000 cases a week now. We're going to hit 10,000 cases, unfortunately, relatively soon on this epidemic. This is Ebola. This is a horrible, unforgiving disease. You've got to get to zero.
The World Health Organization warned that the disease has spread to more geographic locations within the 3 affected West African countries, and that the death rate from Ebola has risen to 70%.
What makes Ebola so dangerous? How can a virus overwhelm the very complex defense system of the body so quickly and so effectively? Let's take a look at what Ebola does. Ebola is a virus. A virus is a very small thing.
Now, before they get started, I actually like this analogy that they gave. Okay, I'm going to play the whole, I think the video is 30 some minutes, so I'm going to play the whole thing. It is on YouTube, but the thing is, there are certain points that I'm going to highlight on some of the news stories. So, hold on.
Of RNA or DNA and a few proteins in a hull. It has no ability to do anything by itself whatsoever and can only survive and proliferate by infecting cells. To avoid this, we have the immune system. The immune system is super complex, so we developed a visual system that makes it easy to understand. So it looks like this. Let's concentrate on the part that's critical to understanding Ebola and ignore the rest. So, usually, dendritic cells would activate an army of antivirus cells, support cells and antibody factories that would, together with the guard cells, wipe out the infection in a matter of days. But when Ebola strikes, it directly attacks the immune system. Some of the first cells...
Hold on. Just so that all of you know, Ebola is no different than any other virus. They all attack the immune system. That's what a virus is. It is a culprit. It is a thief. And what it does is it fools the immune system. You're going to hear them talk about the dendritic cell and the the virus, because even though they're using the term Ebola, they're just explaining how a virus works. Sorry, I have to do that because there are some people who didn't know that simple point, that all viruses tend to act the same. It's when they don't act the same, it's when we start isolating them and saying, no, this one does this and this one does that, and because it does this, when other viruses do that, that makes this one exception. That's when they'll start talking in that language. Hold on.
Takes over are the dendritic cells, the brains of the immune system. The Ebola virus enters a dendritic cell by binding onto receptors for cell transport. Once it's inside, it dissolves its outer hull and releases its genetic material, nuclear proteins, and enzymes.
What they just explained, that viruses are smart, they are intelligent, they operate systematically. So a virus doesn't just do whatever it wants. A virus is programmed. Now, hold on. Some of you are going to be thinking way too far off into the future. Yes, viruses are programs. They are codes. Just like you have a computer code, viruses are genetic codes. Pay attention. That's why they told you that it attaches itself to other cells and then it gives off a different code. When it talked about how it decreases its outer hull so it can release itself into the rest of the system. That's what it's talking about now. I'm sorry, the Matrix was right on the money when it kept talking about computer code. That's all we are as humans. We are codes. I know for some people it's easy to understand. For a lot of people, it's difficult to understand. I'm not no code, I'm flesh and blood. Well, you don't understand that the atoms and protons and neutrons that make up those flesh and bloods are made up of codes, numbers, figures. Everything is numbers, people. Everything is energy. Everything is numbers. If you haven't figured it out, and I'm sorry if you don't get it, I'm not here to give you that education. I am not here. That's not my job. Some people keep saying that, but you know Martin, and you know this, and you... People, I know what I know. I know the same things everybody else is supposed to know. All of this stuff that they're talking about, I know it without having ever studied it. It is just that simple. I may not know all of the names for all of the different particles and elements, but I guarantee you I can go ahead and explain without missing a beat exactly how it operates, because it is basic, for me at least, and for a lot of other people, because there are other people who can run this stuff off at the mouth without having gone over it, just having a basic understanding. Hold on.
In a nutshell, it takes over the cell, disables the cell's protective mechanisms, and reprograms it.
Look at that. Reprograms. I didn't say it, he said it. It reprograms it. It's all code, people. That's all it is. And what they do in laboratories is they alter or affect the code.
The cell now becomes a virus production machine and uses its resources to build Ebola viruses. Once the cell is saturated, it dissolves the cell membrane and millions of viruses are released into the tissue. The virus not only prevents the dendritic cell from activating the specialized antivirus forces, it manipulates it into sending signal proteins that trick the specialized cells into ending their own lives prematurely.
Did you see that? It causes the cells to commit premature suicide. Now, the reason why they say to end their existence early is because all cells die with the exception of brain cells, so even virus cells die. However, what a virus does is it reproduce at such a extreme rate that the population would be as if on the planet Earth nobody died for 1 million years and everybody kept living forever. Eventually, there would have to be another place for the people to go because it would become too much. Well, that happens with the body. That's why viruses tend to spread from one person to the next, because the virus has to spread. It has to grow. That's why there are other planets, people. Anyway, hold on.
So the immune system is seriously disrupted and unable to react, while the virus rapidly multiplies. We're talking billions. There are cells that should deal with infected cells, the natural killer cells. But they also get infected and just die before they can prevent the disease.
I guess they ain't the killers they thought they were.
From spreading. At the same time, Ebola infects the guard cells of the body, macrophages and monocytes. Not only managing to circumvent their defenses, it also manipulates them to signal to the cells that make up the blood vessels, telling them to release fluids into the body. Usually this makes sense, but in this case, it just causes mayhem. All over the body, neutrophils are activated, awoken by the virus and the macrophages' signals. They're not very effective against viruses.
What they're basically saying is the virus in the form of Ebola breaks down the cell walls. And certain cell walls are susceptible at the beginning, then all the cell walls. That's why if you notice the people who have Ebola start bleeding out of the orifices and eventually the kidney and liver and things like that. So the vital organs end up being the ones that are attacked, and that's what leads to the person's eventual death, is the breakdown of those organs. Hold on.
And should not be involved in this fight and begin to do lots of stuff they shouldn't do. The neutrophils signal the blood vessels to release more fluid, causing internal bleeding. Another area of the body Ebola attacks is the liver. The virus finds it very easy to enter the liver, and it quickly starts killing loads of liver cells and causing organ failure and more internal bleeding. And all of those things are going on at the same time.
Now, please understand, I haven't seen this part. I just was going to show you all this video. But again, even this thing about the liver, it's just automatic. It goes after the virus is a program. It's programmed to do exactly what it's doing. It goes after the major organs, the major cells. Why? You can't live without your liver. Okay, it goes after the kidneys too. Hold on.
Time. As the virus spreads, it's like nukes exploding everywhere. One incident of this in one region would be problem enough, but now it's starting to happen everywhere at once. All the mechanisms the immune system has evolved to handle infections work against you, and the virus continues to spread and finally begins to infect more and more body cells while the body desperately struggles to stay alive. In a desperate last effort to turn the tide, the immune system launches a cytokine storm. A cytokine storm is an SOS signal that causes the immune system to launch all of its weapons, all at once, in a desperate kamikaze attack. This hurts the virus, but leaves behind tons of collateral damage, especially in the blood vessels. Paradoxically, the healthier the immune system, the more damage it can do to itself.
Why? Because the residue of what it leaves is toxic to the body. And there is no way for the body to get rid of all of that waste all at the same time, because the body wasn't designed for that. Which is why, you'll see,
more and more fluid leaves the bloodstream. Blood pours out of every opening of the body. You become seriously dehydrated.
Because the waste has to go someplace. Now, when we say waste, we're not talking about feces. We're talking about the chemical residue from the body trying to fight off the infection. So whatever is left over is toxic to the body. The body has to dispel it. The body can't hold it inside. So it finds ways of releasing it through the orifices, the holes, the pores. Hold on.
There's just not enough blood left to supply the organs with oxygen, and cells begin to die. If you reach this point, the chance of you dying is very high. Currently, 6 out of 10 infected die from Ebola.
Year-old school teacher from the Democratic Republic of Congo contracted the first recorded case of Ebola in 1976. The disease has been a scourge on African life. For every case of Ebola we know about, there could be as many as 6 other cases we don't know about, just waiting to reveal themselves.
Now that part I did hear before. That's why I could mention it at the beginning. So just imagine that. For the 300, you got to now multiply that 300 by 6. And now you get, where did you get? What's 3 times 6? I don't know what 3 times 6 is. I think it's 185, because 3 times 3, but I don't know.
Serious outbreaks of the disease have occurred in Africa, and smaller isolated cases have been observed in Europe and in the United States of America. But what if the disease went truly international and infected the world? Is there a chance the virus could become airborne and strike out into new territory?
Now, here is where he gives the information, because I listened to it earlier. This portion. Didn't listen to other portions, but I did listen to this. And when I listened to it, this is what made me say, no, I'm going to put that on video, because I think these people needs to hear this. This is where he's going to talk about the 2012 study out of Canada. Now, you haven't heard anything else about this study since it was done in 2012. It's 6 years later. How come no one else has done experiments with primates or pigs, because I believe they use pigs and primates, but how come nobody has done studies to see if this study was correct?
Should we be worried? That's what we'll find out. In this episode of the Infographic Show, what would happen if Ebola infected the whole world? There have already been almost 29,000 cases of Ebola, with almost 11,000 deaths, according to the World Health Organization report of May 2017. Deadly human outbreaks have been confirmed in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Now hold on. That's not a lot. There are 8 billion people in the world. 29,000 ain't a lot when it comes to 8 billion. You'll see.
Congo, Gabon, South Sudan, Uganda, the Ivory Coast, the Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. Fatal cases have been recorded in Mali, Nigeria, and the United States. Non-fatal cases have been recorded in Italy, Senegal, Spain, and the UK. According to a Vice article in 2014, some of the world's top Ebola experts are worrying night and day about the advent of a worldwide Ebola epidemic. Ebola is a high fatality rate virus. There are 5 strains of the virus, one of which can cause severe illness, sometimes fatal, in humans and animals. Ebola's choice animal host is thought to be the humble fruit bat. Symptoms of the virus include vomiting, fever, weakness, diarrhea, and stomach aches.
Now hold on. They talked about the fruit bat. They have just dispelled the story about the fruit bat and monkeys. See, it was believed that Ebola comes from the fruit bat and monkeys. And in 2013, it was said that a young boy had been bitten by a bat and contracted Ebola. They've tested the bats. They've tested the monkeys. None of them have Ebola. When they are having these strains, because here's what you need to understand. Primates have the very similar system to that of humans. So if the primate has Ebola, then it's suffering the same way as the human. Pay attention. I want you to understand, because people are not getting this. Because if they weren't suffering the same as humans, then they would be doing their experiments on primates so that they can put together some sort of a vaccine or something that could work like the primate's immune system would work if the primates weren't dying of the exact same symptoms. You see, symptoms of Ebola include vomiting, weakness, diarrhea, and stomach aches. Well, if you're vomiting and you got diarrhea, of course you're going to have stomach aches. Sorry, I apologize.
In about half of these cases, patients have been reported to have bled from their orifices. Some of the infected may also experience chest pain, sore throat, a rash, red eyes, and difficulty breathing.
Now do you see why they want to say these are flu-like symptoms? Well, let me let you guys in on a secret. I've only had the flu once where I vomited, and that was 9. And I will promise you, mind over matter. Because that experience, I promised myself that I would never vomit again, and have never done so, no matter what the circumstances. Won't allow myself to do it again because it is a horrible experience. But let's get back to the flu-like symptoms. Weakness is you're gonna experience weakness with any disease, any virus. So that one is duh. And the diarrhea, well, remember, the reason why there's diarrhea is because the body's immune system is fighting, and as it fights to get rid of the disease, it has to get rid of the waste, the chemical waste in the body, which flushes through the kidney and liver. So it has to get rid of that. It has to dispel that. But your body's not ready to dispel it through the pores, so it puts it through the one place that it knows it can get it through, i.e. diarrhea. Stomachache, of course, because now you're losing all of your fluids. Then you got your chest pains. Well, that's why they say flu-like symptoms. Sore throat, flu-like symptoms. Red eyes. Well, of course you're not going to get red eyes because you ain't going to be getting no sleep. And difficulty breathing, yeah, because you're coughing up blood. I'm sorry.
There's an incubation period of around 10 to 20 days before the symptoms can be observed. The virus is named after the Ebola River, where the disease was first recorded. Although being extremely infectious, Ebola isn't terribly contagious, as the virus is not transmitted through the air.
Uh-oh. He said it is not transmitted through the air. Pay attention.
Humans can only become infected if they come into contact with bodily fluids or contaminated objects.
Now, here's the thing. This is what the doctors are not telling people. This is why you see them wearing gloves all the time when handling Ebola patients. Your pores in your skin. That is the type of contact that they're talking about. Bodily fluids, sweating, secretions. So that's what they're referring to.
Although it is possible that somebody could be infected by an infected person sneezing on them, this is unlikely, as sufferers of Ebola do not have flu-like symptoms like coughing and sneezing. For the disease to go truly
Now, did you hear him say sufferers of Ebola do not have flu-like symptoms? But go back and look in 2014 how they spoke about flu-like symptoms. Sorry, I didn't say it, they did.
international, it would have to mutate and go airborne. Examples of other airborne diseases are measles, chickenpox, and influenza. So, let's take a look at how the disease might spread to other countries. The most likely way for Ebola to cross borders is inside a person on an airplane.
On an airplane. And we've had several of those planes quarantined, not because they thought they might have Ebola, but they thought that somebody there might have had an infectious disease, blah, blah, blah. And then they let them go. Okay.
Remember that the incubation period can last up to 3 weeks, and during that time...
Oh, and this part of the video I've seen before. This is now, I guess, the whole video, but this part of the video I've seen before because I was offended. Why? Because the person that they show having Ebola, look at the big, huge earring she got, and look at the hair. Look at the hair. See the hair? And so ghetto. And that's done on purpose because they got to be from Africa.
The infected shows no symptoms and is not infectious. So a person may be able to take a flight, find new dwellings in a new city, and start a new job in his or her host country before symptoms are visible and the person is infectious.
That is no longer true, as you heard me say, that if you look at some of the reports in Africa, individuals showed up with the beginning stages of Ebola and were dead within the week. And that caused some very, very big alarms with the World Health Organization. Who? The World Health Organization. Who? The World Health Organization. Anyway.
Now, Ebola doesn't spread through the air, so the only way Ebola could spread in this new environment is if someone were to touch the infected person's sweat, vomit, diarrhea, saliva, or blood.
Again, your skin has pores on it, so when you hear things about how Mr. What was his name? Kevin Duncan. I forgot the man's name. I believe it was Kevin Duncan, but I can't remember Eric Duncan. And when he came over from Africa, he had been a taxi driver and he had helped the young lady who had Ebola, took her to the hospital, and then he went on about his business. Well, see, again, secretion through the skin. So more than likely he handled the person without any protection on his hands, such as gloves. Whatever the case may have been, again, that's the spread of Ebola.
Which is kind of icky. In a developed country, the symptoms would be recognized by a health official who would look at the symptoms and the person's latest passport stamp.
Like they did Eric Duncan. You know, they sent him home because he didn't have insurance. No, they didn't send him home because he didn't have insurance. Yes, they did. No, they didn't. The hospital would never send a person home, tell them to take 2 pills and call me in the morning. They would never do that. But they did it to Eric Duncan. No, they didn't do that to Eric Duncan. They told him to go home, told him everything was okay, told him he just had the flu, and he told him he'd been to Africa. They knew he was an African. They knew his passport. They knew Ebola was going on at the time, and they sent him back home on purpose because they didn't want to deal with it. The hospital didn't want to have Ebola being the title of their hospital because if everybody said, oh, that's the Ebola hospital, nobody would go there. So the hospital was doing a PR stunt. Yes, that's exactly what happened. The hospital will tell you all kind of other stuff, but they lied. The man was definitely showing symptoms of Ebola. The family members had brought him to the hospital because he was doing not so good. And then a week later, they had no other choice but to bring him back there because now he's doing not so good. And then when it came time for them to give him certain treatments, they delayed. They said no and allowed him to die. Sorry, it was a medical and business expense. Excuse me, I said it backwards. A business and medical decision.
If his or her country is one that has had an outbreak of Ebola, the patient would be treated in isolation and necessary steps would be taken to make sure the virus doesn't spread. This is why the isolated cases of Ebola in developed countries have been minimalized. In the countries where outbreaks have occurred, there are usually public hygiene and sanitation issues, and this, along with the limited accessibility to medical facilities, clean water, and effective infrastructure, led to outbreaks occurring in these regions.
So, no outbreak has ever occurred, in any major city Spanish flu. Excuse me, stop that. What? All I said was Black Plague and Spanish flu. Okay. In no major cities, in no developed countries. No, it's always the undeveloped countries, right? No, that's a lie. You see, Sierra Leone is not an undeveloped country. Okay, they are not third world. Now, everybody wants to think of Africa, all of Africa, as being bush and third world. If only you all knew.
Director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research at Minnesota University, Michael Osterholm, published an open editorial in the New York Times arguing that Ebola
Whoa. Hold on. We gonna rewind that one. Because he said the man's name, and I want y'all to hear his title, okay? All right.
Director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research at Minnesota.
Director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research at Minnesota? So this man knew what he was talking about. Let's see what he say.
University, Michael Osterholm, published an open editorial in the New York Times arguing that Ebola becoming airborne is a real risk that virologists don't like to talk about publicly. If certain mutations occurred, the scientist pointed out, just breathing would put one at risk of contracting Ebola.
Now hold on. He said that they don't want you to know, they don't want to talk about, they don't want nobody to know that a particular virus has the potential of being airborne. So, will Ebola go airborne? Is what the question is. Don't ask will. Let's ask, is Ebola airborne?
Infections could spread quickly to every part of the globe. And he has a case. The Ebola virus does mutate or change fairly frequently, but has not yet acquired the ability to spread through air. Genetic mutations are random. Some may not cause any noticeable differences, and other changes might render the virus non-functional rather than more deadly. For the disease to become airborne, it would require a series of mutations to happen in an exact order.
Now, what I do want to say is, I now realize that portions of this I've seen before when looking at other stories on Ebola. I haven't watched the whole video. As a matter of fact, when I pointed out the young lady who was not see, all the doctors are not black. You do see that, right? The doctors are not black, and well, anyway, but only the people who can transmit Ebola to each other. Those were the. See, I'm sorry. That's why I didn't finish watching it, because it was offensive that the person who did it probably didn't do it with that in mind. But I don't appreciate that type of stereotypic stupidity. I try to be fair in everything, and like I said, the person may not have did it on purpose, but you can see in our country, in this world, there is a cultural graveyard type cavern between reasonableness, understanding, culture, and so on and so forth. So hold on.
And even if it were to become airborne, it may lose the ability to infect people or to cause such deadly symptoms.
Whoa, look at that. Even if the virus were to become airborne, he said it may lose. See, he says even, which is a hypothetical, and if, another hypothetical, and then may, another hypothetical. He's quantifying every statement referring to airborne because they don't want people to think that this thing can be airborne.
Osterholm, in his op-ed, recalled a 2012 Canadian study where pigs that were infected with the Ebola virus passed the disease to monkeys caged nearby. The animals had no contact with each other, proving, allegedly, that the virus could be spread by the respiratory route.
Okay, hold on. Y'all see that picture that he just showed y'all? With the man and the woman standing next to each other? And the pig in the background and the monkey? Let's go there for a second. Let's show y'all something. Okay, see this picture right here? This is not how they did it. You see, they weren't coming in there with no mask on. The study was being done specifically and particularly to determine if the disease was airborne. So the medical staff would not have, oh, look at that, no black medical staff, no Hispanic medical staff. Anyway, they would have come in with masks or suits on, which is exactly, if you read the study, that's exactly what they did. And they sprayed the floor down every single day and cleaned the cages, okay? So this was, how would we say, this is not a very good depiction of what took place. But we're going to let them keep talking.
That the virus could be spread by the respiratory route.
Now, 2018 strikes again. Ebola. Mainstream media not mentioning the outbreak. Wonder why. Ladies and gentlemen, this video that I'm showing you, I'm only highlighting some things about Ebola because when things do get bad, and I'm not saying Ebola is going to be the culprit, but we do know that they have already been preparing us for a pandemic. They are already talking about how we are due for a pandemic. But how come Ebola was over? And if you go back and you look at the other times that there was an Ebola outbreak, pay attention. The other times there was an Ebola outbreak, they didn't have another outbreak right after and another outbreak right after. That's never happened before. So why now? Why now? Makes you go, Arsenio Hall.
Health officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo say 2 more people have died from the Ebola virus. Spokesperson for the Health Ministry, Jessica Ilunga, says the fatalities were recorded in the northeast city of Mbandaka, and a nurse died in the village of Bikoro, where the outbreak was first detected. Officials have also confirmed 7 new cases. Health workers began an immunization campaign yesterday in an attempt to halt the spread of the virus. At least 28 people are now believed to have died in the current outbreak.
Now, again, you'll notice that all of the news reports are coming through the World Health Organization. Now, that is the United Nations. They, I do not believe, are telling people the actual numbers. As a matter of fact, it turns out that many of the cases where people were dying and being buried and village or the others suspected they had Ebola, the so-called WHO, never, ever, ever tested those bodies. Why? Because they can't have you knowing that more than 900 people have been infected with Ebola in that area, and that they are purposely allowing it to spread. Now, they are showing you, now notice whenever they're talking about Ebola, you always see these people dressed in a mask and the uniforms and everything. I need you to pay attention. Look at the people who are putting the uniform on the guys. They always show you this to make you believe that the workers are protecting themselves. Okay, hold on.
As of today, Ministry of Health of Democratic Republic of Congo reported 51 cases. Out of those 51, 28 are confirmed with the lab, 21 are considered probable, and there are 2 suspect cases. The number of deaths is 27. So the vaccination started yesterday in Mbandaka. 33 people received vaccine yesterday. They were health workers, but also a few people in 2 areas in a community in Mbandaka.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. They're testing these vaccines. Oh, I'm sorry. You just messed up. You said they're testing the vaccines. How come they're not saying that they're testing the vaccines? See, these are human trials. Oh, what, you didn't know? You think that they... Please, ladies and gentlemen, these are human trials. The world government, the New World Order, known as the UN, that's what WHO stands for, okay? The World Health Organization. The world is an organization, New World Order. WHO, I'm sorry, I'm just saying that. I'm not, that's not how they're doing it. I'm just saying that to help you do the correlation. It's called the United Nations for a reason. But pay attention. They are reporting it one way and one way only, that they are receiving vaccines. They are not telling you that these are human test subjects, that they're experimenting on these people, that these companies have not been approved by any medical licensing agency to distribute these drugs, nor would they have been approved anytime soon. But I digress.
We will continue to do vaccination today.
No, I don't digress. The only reason why they're doing this is because these people are in a country which they consider to be uncivilized. These people are considered to be less likely to be president of the United States, less likely to be a world leader. So no, we can do this to this impoverished nation. We can do this to these impoverished people. We can do this to these ignorant black bush people, for lack of a better phrase. Sorry. Now, I'm not the racist. I don't care about skin color. I'm only explaining exactly why they are testing these untested drugs, because they know that they can't get sued, and if they did get sued, how would the people sue them? These people would never become organized to be able to file such a suit. They're doing it in Africa, and they're doing it in the middle of these villages on purpose. So when those people die, we haven't heard a single thing about any side effects from any of these vaccines. Why haven't they told us about the side effects? Because that's the only reason. Because.
In Bikoro, our colleagues from MSF will be involved in vaccination. Hopefully this will start later in a week or...
Now you hear him hesitating? That lets you know that he's now saying something that he doesn't believe. Not about when it will start in a week or so, about the vaccinations. He's saying vaccination. The term vaccination means that somebody's receiving a vaccine to fight against something, and that the vaccine is to fight against that particular thing, and it is designed for that. He knows that they're being experimented on.
Next week, once the preparations are done. Getting in vaccines, getting in freezers, having enough of fuel so these freezers can function in the area where you don't really have electricity. You need to have vaccination teams to be trained so they know exactly what they need to do, how to get the consent, how to define eligibility of a contact and contacts of contacts.
Let's slow that down so you guys can read it. Could this be just another new way to introduce a new vaccine? This new vaccine is currently unlicensed. Could this be the reason why the mainstream media is not mentioning the current outbreak as much? Could this unlicensed vaccine cause a mutation of the Ebola virus? I believe that there is a possibility of that. I honestly believe that. I believe that they purposely are going to allow this virus to mutate. It seems that they were well prepared in advance. Time will tell. I'm just saying, I didn't write this, y'all. This ain't my video. I ain't even seen that part before.
Leading by example, the man in charge of the World Health Organization's immunization program is the first to receive the experimental Ebola vaccine in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Merck's experimental and unlicensed Ebola vaccine is being used in the latest outbreak. More than 7,500 doses of the Ebola vaccine still under regulatory review and being administered in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Here's the question, ladies and gentlemen. They say that he was the first to get an injection. Excuse me, how do we know that was the vaccine in that vial? How do we know it wasn't sugar water? Sorry, placebo. The World Health Organization has started to vaccinate thousands of people considered at high risk of contacting the infectious and often deadly Ebola disease in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And who said Monday it is working with NGOs and community leaders, well, Negroes, anyway, I'm joking, to administer an experimental vaccine that was studied in a trial in Guyana in 2015, but has yet to be used to contain a major outbreak. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. In Guyana, the Guyana tragedy, if they used it in Guyana in 2015, then what were the side effects? What were the results? Where are the studies? We know they followed up. So how come we don't have any information on the vaccines? All I have to say is, Now, more than 7,500 doses of the vaccine, called whatever it is, has been deployed in the northwestern Ecuador province of the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 46 suspected, probable, and confirmed cases and 26 deaths have been reported as of last Friday. Most of the are in a remote town, but there are 4 confirmed cases in Mundanka. I don't know how to pronounce that name because, see, I'm used to having vowel and, that. So the MB together. But anyway, yeah, see, I can't pronounce it. The provincial capital, which has more than a million people in its population. The vaccine is being donated by Merck and Company, which bought the rights to it in 2014. While it remains unlicensed, it is being reviewed for approval by the United States Food and Drug Administration and other regulators. It proved to be highly effective in 2015 trial. Ladies and gentlemen, how did it prove to be highly effective? Okay, it says none of whom developed Ebola 9 days or more after the vaccination. Okay, well, when did they develop Ebola? I want you all to pay attention. I want you to pay attention. That involved more than 5,800 people, none of whom developed Ebola 9 days or more after vaccination. So of these 5,800 people, none of them developed Ebola, or none of them developed Ebola until after 9 days. Immunization has recommended the use of the vaccine under an expanded access compensate use protocol for any outbreaks linked to the Zaire strain, which is the main one that affects humans. Oh, so now it's Zaire. All right. I am going to let the whole video play, and it will, because I'm tethering, it will take me several hours to update it. But again, their vaccinations, their vaccinations have to be kept in, it says minus 80 degrees Celsius. So it has to be almost frozen. Now, here's the problem. They make these vaccines that have to be refrigerated to be deployed in areas that they know don't have refrigeration. Interesting, huh? There are only 2 licensed Ebola vaccines. I guarantee they don't do very much, huh? He went back to the same thing. He should have let it keep going. Right.
When people are exposed to Ebola, they must be vaccinated. This vaccine is an integral part of the prevention program, so that we can stop the disease from spreading.
The WHO has flown in more than 4,000 doses to the city of Mbandaka. That's where the first urban cases of the disease were reported last week. Frontline health workers are the first to be immunized.
We're very happy to get the vaccine since Ebola is a disease that's very difficult to treat and is often fatal. So we're lucky, and as health workers, we hope it will protect us.
The vaccine has not yet been approved by health regulators, but it was effective in limited trials during the Ebola outbreak in West Africa between 2014 and 2016.
Do you notice that's the main line? It was effective. It was effective? Well, if either it was effective or it wasn't effective, then why isn't it approved? Why hasn't it been licensed yet? If it was effective, how effective was it? We don't have any of those numbers. Now, if it was truly effective, if it really worked, then they would be yelling and screaming this.
If we manage to cut the transmission line, it will benefit the international scientific community because we will have shown that the vaccine works in Guinea and Sierra Leone, and it works here as well. I think we will have enough elements to provide a weapon against this epidemic, which is, frankly, very, very serious.
Government ministers are also encouraging people to wash their hands, limit physical contact, and above all, be vigilant.
Vaccinations can only be effective if all other preventative measures are followed, starting with surveillance in the household. This will not be a mass vaccination program. It will be targeted at health professionals and then anyone who's been in contact with a patient who's had symptoms of Ebola.
The WHO says more doses of the vaccine are on the way. One challenge will be keeping them cold in this vast, impoverished and tropical country. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
As you know, the IHR Emergency Committee met on Friday and advised me not to declare a public health emergency of international concern. Although
Hold on. They advised him not to declare? Why? Because they didn't want to affect the economies of these nations.
they noted that the situation remains very serious. I have accepted that advice. It's concerning that we now have cases of Ebola in an urban center, but we're much better placed to deal with this outbreak than we were in 2014. I'm pleased to say that vaccination is starting as we speak today.
They keep trying to sell this vaccination thing on these untested drugs, even though they said, well, it did pretty well. Anyway, these untested drugs, and they are all experimental. They announced that they're experimental, but they're referring to it as a vaccine as if it has already been tried, true, and tested. Pay attention.
Unfortunately, the health minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo cannot be with us today, but I hope he will be able to join us tomorrow because he's being involved in the vaccination effort. The outbreak in Bikoro illustrates again the health security and universal health coverage are two sides of the same coin. The best thing we can do to prevent future outbreaks is to strengthen health systems everywhere.
Coming up on Network Africa, the World Health Organization raises its assessment risk of Ebola outbreak in the DRC from high to very high. The World Health Organization has raised its assessment of the risk to public health from the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo from high to very high at the national level. 11 more people are confirmed to have contracted the disease and 25 people in total are now thought to have died. The WHO is to hold an emergency meeting today to consider the international risk of the outbreak. Meanwhile, Sierra Leone's military held a 2-day simulation exercise in Freetown to test the armed forces' preparedness in case of an Ebola outbreak. The medical unit of the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces set up what they call a rapid deployable isolation and treatment facility at Wilberforce Barracks in the capital. Sierra Leone is holding emergency Ebola drills to test the preparedness for an outbreak. The country experienced the last outbreak in 2014 to 2016 that killed more than 11,000 people in West Africa.
In the context of an epidemic, some of the things that have been associated with transmission are the need to care for a sick person, and when a person is suspected to have Ebola, they need to be taken to an Ebola treatment unit so that they can be safely taken care of rather than...
Sorry, I thought his name was Dr. Congo, Ebola crisis, but it's Democratic Republic Congo, Ebola crisis.
Being taken care of at home. Secondly, when there are fatalities during an Ebola epidemic, safe burial practices are essential. general hand washing of the population in the midst of an epidemic. In a situation like now, when there is no active Ebola, no special precautions need to be taken. And this field training exercise is not for anything going on at the present time, but in...
Why does he have to quantify his statement? Why does he have to say, well, what they're doing now, they're doing a testing exercise, but it doesn't mean that there's a problem right now. No, please understand, they're just doing an exercise and there's no problem. Why does he have to do that? Nobody was suggesting it. Was anybody? Did you? No, I didn't. Okay.
In case there might be an epidemic sometime in the future.
We have been doing classroom work with nurses and doctors, and this is like a simulation to see how we receive a patient.
Okay, want you to pay attention. They're doing it again. They are telling you the reason why they're doing something without anybody questioning the reason why they're doing something. Now, possibly there may have been some people in the towns, in the cities saying, hey, what are y'all doing? Is there a problem? And, but they're speaking to the world news. Even though it's Network Africa, they're speaking to the world news. So why are they qualifying and quantifying their statements?
If a patient comes with Ebola, how we administer the drug and how we take care of the patient. So it's just like part of our normal routine training. It has nothing to do with DRC.
Okay, so pay attention. That's how I listen to the news. I listen to what they're not saying, and that they're emphasizing something without it being brought up. Nobody brought it up, but the newscaster brought it up when she was talking, then that guy brings it up, and now he brings it up. So has it spread to Sierra Leone? Don't know. But I know that there might be a possibility, since the fact that they keep trying to say it's not a possibility without anybody else bringing it up.
But as we know, Ebola is an infectious disease, and we must maintain our readiness.
Is there a case that can be a scenario? What's the scenario?
Hey everybody, Brad with Full Spectrum Survival. Ebola is spreading in the DRC right now. It has a 56% kill ratio. 56% of the people that contract the disease are dying from it. Ebola is one of the most dangerous viruses on the in the open world right now. People bleed out their eyes, bleed out their internal organs. Hemorrhagic fever is what it's called in the medical world. You're basically bleeding out from the inside. 56% of the people. 2 people get it, 1 of them dies. 1 person gets it, they flip a coin, see if they survive or not.
Hey, you got a coin?
Now, I want to talk today about cognitive dissonance. I want to talk about why we're hearing so much about it. And I want to talk about the vaccine push. The first thing I want to say is
Now, I haven't seen this. I'm kind of skeptical because I don't know what he's going to say, because I don't allow cursing on my videos. And, whoo, doggy, if he say something, man, sit up there and slap him right through the screen.
Cognitive dissonance. A lot of people are going to say Ebola's fake. It's not. A lot of people are going to say it's man-made. That, of course, could be. There's no way anybody can rule that out. And they're going to say it's a reason for them to push a vaccine, and that's why it was let out into the world. Again, that could be. There's no way that anybody can rule that out.
Hold on. I think that that's a very stupid response. That, well, they're trying to push out another vaccine. That's why they're doing the Ebola scare. Ladies and gentlemen, if the government was so keen on pushing out vaccines, then they would be doing this every 10 years. And that just isn't the case. So I don't believe they're trying to push out another vaccine to make the pharmaceutical companies rich. I do believe that they are getting ready to do what they refer to as Agenda 21, depopulation, and that this is a means for them to go about taking care of that. That is my opinion. And as you all know, I don't give my opinion that often. I usually stick with facts. So let's take the facts. Ebola, they know it's contagious. They know it's infectious. That's everybody keeps saying it. So how come the UN is afraid to send the doctors in? Talking about because of the fractions and the fighting and everything. Well, then you're the UN, morons. You got not only the UN, but you also have NATO, because that's Africa. So you have NATO that you can use. Don't tell me nothing about no, they're fighting over there. All they have are machine guns. You guys have tanks and you have jets that shoot them little things called rockets and Patriot missiles and all that other stuff. So don't sit up here and tell us that you can't stop it.
The fact is, Ebola right now is spreading in a place where there's a population of 1 million people.
Uh-oh, did y'all hear that? Said Ebola is spreading in the Congo and there's 1 million people there. So that's the point. And there is no halting of any travel. Everybody's free to travel to and from whatever country and whatever place they want. There is no restrictions. Yes, I know they have border checkings, and all they're doing is checking a person's temperature. You got a temperature? No, I just sat in that refrigerated truck right there, and I'm right here. How's my temperature? What do you mean my temperature is 97 over 4? Come on now. I wasn't in the oh, you hospital? I don't need to go to a hospital. No, my temperature can be this low. If you knew what it was regularly. Sorry.
When we saw Ebola spread the last 2 years, it was in little rural areas. Little areas where it took a lot for somebody to get from one location to another where they could spread it. Not this time. This is why it triggered one of our alerts, because it's in a place that has a propensity to cause it to spread exponentially. The World Health Organization came out yesterday and they said the international spread level is high. That means if it hasn't already, it likely will spread internationally across borders. The global threat is still moderate. That means even though it's going to spread from the DRC, there's still a chance to contain it beyond that point. The World Health Organization, along with other nonprofit organizations, some religious organizations, are sending men and women into the zone to actively quarantine the areas. They've stocked up the borders with infrared thermometers so that they can stop people at a safer distance, see what their temperature readings are. They can keep a log of who's coming and going and where they're going. The threat here is also that it's in a society that has a general distrust of Western medicine, which I can't say is unfounded. This society has a general distrust of Western people, which again I can't say is unfounded. So what happens is these people who are affected with this disease lie. They don't tell the exact truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's correct that. It's not that they have a distrust of the Western world. Let's make sure you understand. They have a distrust of individuals who are white. Sorry. Colonialism. You never heard of it? Of course they have a distrust. What did they do? They came into the country and they raped and pillaged and took and enslaved. Sorry. It's the facts. I'm not making it up. So they have a distrust because all they had was promises made and promises not kept. All they had was individuals coming and sucking out their natural resources and then leaving them with nothing. It's still going on. China's doing it to them now. So now they're going to have a natural distrust from the individuals who are of Asian descent. So their distrust is a cultural thing.
They say they're not symptomatic. Oh, they just got a cold. Just sniffling. They just ran up here. That's why their body temperature is hotter. And they get passed through the borders into these other areas.
That's not true. That's individuals guessing because, of course, the people who are manning the borders are not Caucasian. They're not English speaking. And if you notice, most of the doctors who are going in from the UN, from WHO and all of that are not English speaking. They're from other countries. So yeah, a lot of speculation of people because they simply don't understand. The people who man the borders don't speak English. The people who man the borders don't work for the United Nations. These are military. personnel from these other countries. And trust me, they're not going to let you into their country if they suspect you of being sick. They would rather, pay attention, kill you, bury you, and move on about their business. Nobody will ever know. Because, look, think about it right now. If somebody was to kill him right now, nobody would know. Because he's in a wooded area. Nobody would understand where the tree fell. Okay?
Or once they move beyond, they're lost because they didn't give correct information. This is one of the protocols that these organizations are trying to lock down. Now, a lot of people are also going to say the vaccine, that's why it's being pushed. That's why we're hearing about it. It doesn't matter. 1 out of 2 people who get it are dying. So whether they're doing it to push a vaccine or not, that doesn't change this fact over here. The fact is, if it spreads globally, 56% of the people who contract this disease are going to die from it. Now, the vaccine is experimental. I've read the reports. There's a lot of primary and secondary negative reactions to it. If you're witnessing your family dying from the disease, I bet a lot of people are going to take it. What does this mean for our community?
Wait, hold on. He said there are primary and secondary side effects. But hold on. I have not heard anybody talk about the side effects, but I'm interested in the fact that nobody is telling that to the healthcare workers over there in Africa. They're just sending dosage and just sitting up there injecting them. Nobody's telling them about the side effects. Interesting, ain't it?
Once it jumps the international border, if it were to go global, the disease researchers, the virologists of the world, their biggest concern is that it will reach a point where it can no longer be contained. We'll hear that. Perspective. Ebola is transferred by fluid. So you say, okay, well, I just stay away from everybody. And that'll work. But think about stomach virus. Think about the stomach flu. Also transferred by fluid. How many people do you know that have gotten the stomach flu over the years? It's not unheard of for it to overwhelm an entire cruise ship, as an example. What if someone with Ebola got onto a cruise ship? It's not unheard of for it to overwhelm school systems, cafeterias, restaurants, where fluids are transferred a little bit more easily, a little bit easier.
Look, he wrote notes.
The fact that there's 1 million people in the city where it's spreading right now has disease researchers very concerned, and honestly, it has us concerned.
Hold on, y'all. He's being bitten by bugs. And he's a trooper because he's still talking. 1 second.
It's definitely elevated itself on one of the major concerns that we're looking at. North Korea, okay, we know there's him-ha there. Syria and Russia and the U.S. proxy war there, definitely a cause for concern. Probably nothing's going to happen tonight.
Do you see him?
Ebola, on the other hand, is spreading beyond. Excuse me, there's mosquitoes everywhere.
I'm sorry, that is hilarious. I've been noticing him bouncing back and forth and reaching down and slapping. Why don't you put some pants on, mother? Anyway.
It's spreading beyond the organization's ability to see it. The vaccine has to be kept in a cold chain at -60 degrees when in use. That has a lot of room for error. Now, what's the U.S. danger? What's the Western danger? If it gets into the United States, be prepared to lock yourself down. Make sure that...
What is he talking about? Be prepared to lock yourself down. Ladies and gentlemen, if the disease gets here into the United States, they're going to lock down cities. They're going to quarantine areas. You are going to have to pay attention. You're going to have to be stocked up on certain foods. Why? Because just like every other emergency, they raid the supermarkets. You've all seen it when there's a hurricane a-coming. Everybody done rushed on over there to that supermarket and then unstripped the stores bare. Remember, supermarkets don't carry enough food to feed the entire community. That's why the community does their shoppings on certain days. But if everybody was to go to the supermarket at the same time on the same day, ain't no way in the world. They don't have enough food there. So if there was some sort of a disease or a pandemic, you would not be prepared. You would be like everybody else, panicking, trying to figure out what to do. You know, as a matter of fact, we're going to stop him from talking. Because I think that's about it anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, I just bought something and I want to show it to y'all. I just got to pull up a picture. And the problem is I got to walk over here to get the box. So that I can get the name of the product, because I've been doing this lately. I've been buying myself some Bluetooth speakers, and no, it's AX, ESS, and I'm looking for the speaker, but there it is right there. It's the Amazon portable, but I want the speaker. So let's just do this. I could have gone to Amazon, but I don't want y'all seeing my brother's account, because that ain't for y'all to be seeing. So, because I was logged into his account, so I don't want y'all to be seeing his stuff. Let's see. No, you know what? It says top 5 Bluetooth speakers 2018, and SPBT 1037. That's 3.1, so that's a earlier model. This is the latest model, but this is the way the speaker looks. Okay, and I like it. So this is the one I'm going to review, because this little speaker, it actually has a grip. It's not small. When I got it, I looked at the box and I'm going, what? For a Bluetooth speaker, this thing is pretty sturdy. And for a Bluetooth speaker, it actually gives me the surround sound, and the surround sound is impressively amazing. Amazing! Anyway, I'm not plugging the speaker because I just got it today, so I haven't fully used it, nor have I dealt with figuring out its Bluetooth capabilities, because right now I have it plugged into the AC connection. But I was watching the TV series, The Good Doctor, and when I was watching The Good Doctor, I had it on, and let's just say theater, yeah. And you don't even need the speaker next to you. Don't have to turn it up all the way. You can turn up the volume. I have it connected to my television, which is my other computer. Yes, I have a 17-inch computer, which is my TV, and it's also my backup computer if anything goes wrong with this computer. So, and I'm tethering, so it will take this thing a little while. I should have just went to the Amazon. Let's do the Amazon. Forget that. Yeah, come on, Google. Let's do the Amazon thing. We're just going to have to do it. This is 31. It's not the same speaker. See, mine is 37, but that's 31. And so, hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. Okay, there are 2 things that I want to show you. First, I've been looking for a unique Bluetooth speaker. Has to have FM, and it also has to have an SD card. This has an SD card, and it has the SD card and the micro SD card slot for it. It's okay with me. That's what I needed. And it has FM and it's Bluetooth. And as you can see, mine is more like this, but it's more accustomed to this, because this is the 36, mine is the 37. So mine is, right around here. Okay. Well, anyway, the unit, to be such a small speaker and to be portable and handheld, let's just say it does what I need it to do, especially for a room. And so I give this company some credit. I only had the speaker for the last 6 hours, not even 6 hours. Yeah, it's going on 11 o'clock. So they dropped it off right about 6 o'clock today. So about 4.5 hours, and I've only been letting it play in the background. So I am plugging this speaker because I like it, and it was only $31 for Bluetooth with FM. I need FM because if something does happen, I need to be able to tune in to a radio. I would rather have one that have FM and AM, but digital, you're not going to get too many units that have FM and AM. That's portable and has a rechargeable battery. Many of you are not prepared for the rechargeable battery. You should be stocking up on the flashlights, the crank ones that you crank, because if there is an issue, there are going to be periods of no electricity. Not saying it's going to be an issue tomorrow, but if you pay attention to Agenda 21 that they entered into in 1992 when Clinton was placed in office, Agenda 21 is a real thing. You can pull up copies of Agenda 21. You already see that they're already starting to take control of the things they are claiming that they were going to take control of. So the suggestion is there was this commercial. Be prepared. Are you ready to take the lead? Be prepared. Are you ready to take the lead? Be prepared. You remember that stupid little jingle from that commercial? Well, the idea is be prepared. Ebola is not slowing down. And to prove it, look, ladies and gentlemen, they have an entire website, ebolavirusnet.com. I said ebolavirus.net, but it's ebolavirusnet.com. This is all they speak about on this site. And look, Ebola vaccination to start in Toroko. No, see, I wouldn't be able to pronounce it because of the N, and that would throw me off. But anyway, and all you hear them talk about is the stupid viruses. How malaria parasite could help protect against Ebola. This is all it talks about, and we're in constant fear of armed attack as we treat Ebola patients in the Congo. That's their excuse. That's not the truth. That's their excuse. That's the nation's excuse for allowing it to spread. Why do you think they allowed it to be in the areas they allowed it to be this time? And then when it was dying off, you notice how it was picking up someplace else, and now it's in an area that has armed rebels and fractions that are fighting against each other, and now our workers are being killed. I am sorry for the loss of any life, especially with people losing family and loved ones to a disease such as this. But if only you knew, those of you who pay attention, how this, it may not be Ebola, but there is a plan to decrease the world's population. I haven't been able to get the YouTube to pull up because it was moving too slow, but what we want to do is we're just going to put something in Google. I don't like Skynet. You heard about their artificial intelligence, Google and Microsoft, everybody talking about artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, what they refer to artificial intelligence is they take all of your information. Every time you type something into the keyboard, every time you go and search for something online, they take all of that information and compile it, and they come up with a profile of you. That's their artificial intelligence, at least part of the aspects of it. Now, hold on. Let's do depopulation. And see, I want to do depopulation agenda. I was actually gonna say depopulation agenda, but this one says depopulation agenda 2018. So I'm gonna click on 2018. Now, I don't want you to do what so many people do, and many people do this. I don't want you going to the sites that you know are just ran by one individual. See, and I don't care about these little YouTube channels. I don't care about Bill Gates because this is a long time ago. This isn't recent. I go to this site because this site is not ran by a single individual. Okay? So I go here and I know it's HTML, and I don't mind an HTML site. Okay? Don't mind it at all. because I know that the information is not coming from this site. All they're doing is taking the articles from the actual publications and putting it here. Okay, because every one of these links you click on, it actually brings you to the site that's talking about it. So this is all here letting you know if you want to go and look up and do some more research or want to go and study this or want to go and know about this. I want to keep up with what's going on. Okay, and so when I found this site, I've kept it up. So now I'm letting you all know about EbolaVirusNet.com. And if you can't understand what I'm saying, there's the name right there. So you can just put the webpage up if you want to keep up. If this virus were to die down next week, hey, don't worry about nothing. But you've already heard them say that they are afraid, that they have fears, that it will not be containable. Pay attention so that you guys understand. Agenda 21, depopulation. I did not make that up. Okay, now, I wouldn't go here and read this article because this site is called the Armageddon Times. Please. I would not go to a site that's labeled like that because that's an individual, and I don't want to read an individual. I want to go to a site that is created by an organization, not a one person, because a one person also has their agenda. Like this one, the agenda of the elite, total depopulation. Please. The Bill Gates thing, yournewswire.com, I can deal with that one. Okay? I can go there and I can check that site out and see, but don't know if it's going to be exactly what it's supposed to be. I've heard the Bill Gates videos. I've heard him say what he's saying. I heard him say while he was introducing viruses to other countries. Okay, and now I'm only thinking about that now, and vaccines too. Hold on. Vaccines, not viruses, but how they were introducing vaccines to other countries to bring down the birth rate. Don't believe me? Bill Gates says it out of his own mouth. Okay, so I don't care about the hypotheticals and the hysteria. I want to just deal only with one thing: the actual law, what the actual law says, what the actual facts are. I don't want to go to any one of these sites where individuals are saying this and individuals are saying that and they're predicting this, or that they're claiming this and that they're trying to say that this is Bible prophecy this and Bible prophecy that. No, I don't go to those sites because that's just their opinion. I want the actual facts and information. I've known about Agenda 21 for years. Remember, I told you I was listening when Kofi Annan said that the world population was 5.3 billion. I believe that was roughly around 1993, 1994. And he says the ideal mark for the world, or the ideal population, is 2.3 billion. And he says, and we aim, I think he said we hope to achieve that goal. I want to say we aim to achieve that goal, but he didn't say that. He says we hope to achieve that goal. Since Kofi is dead, he no longer exists, he's no longer here, I can't ask him. I've been trying to look for that speech of his where he says that they're hoping to achieve the goal of a 3 billion person decrease in the world population. Now they've increased that. When this individual says 95%, it is more to the tune of 85, but I believe things are going to get out of hand. Don't ask me how I know. Just when it happens, you'll know that this person was saying it before anybody else, and that he was saying that the pandemic is the only thing they can do to affect everybody. If you want to know how they are going to affect everybody, they're going after exactly what this video talked about. So let's go back to the video for just a second. Then I'm going to end this video so you all can get your rest. We're going to go back to this video. And as a matter of fact, this is the section we need to go to. So hold on.
To deal with infected cells, the natural killer cells. But they also get infected and just die before they can prevent the disease from spreading.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's the problem. They're going after the immune system. They've been attacking our immune system. Look, I have an autoimmune disease known as muscular dystrophy. And I told people that the doctor said I had two forms of muscular dystrophy. I have DM1, DM2. Finally diagnosed. Even though they said I had Duchenne's, which is the main muscular dystrophy, it's narrowed down to DM1, DM2 because DM1, DM2, individuals can have one, not the other. They can have both. Very seldom do they have both. I have DM1, DM2, and I have every last one of the symptoms of DM1, DM2, the combination. But you can take some crown seal oil and some muka sakatuku and man, you do a couple of hallelujahs and everything will be fine. I don't want to hear it. What I'm trying to say, and just focus on this, don't focus on me. They're going after the immune system. They've been going after the immune system. That's why they are flooding the entire atmosphere with micro or nano aluminum. It's called microaluminum. And they are putting it in our fuels, jet fuel, diesel fuel, kerosene, propane, everything. So when you see those planes leading those chemtrails everywhere, it's everywhere. Why do you think they are poisoning the ocean? Because they don't want you going to seafood. That's why they're allowing the Fukushima. Do you guys know about the meltdown at Fukushima, which is still melting down to this very day, still putting out trillions of tons of pollutants and nuclear waste into the ocean every year? Go on, do your study on it. I haven't looked in a couple of months, but I know it's still melting down. Wait, hold on. Y'all don't believe me. So I don't even know how to spell Fukushima. So let's try Fuca. I'm just gonna SHEMIA. I'm gonna do it like that and see if it's gonna give me a correction. Because I know, there you go. See? Fukushima. That's what I'm looking for. As my cousin would say, "Aw, shuckin' now." Anyway, the Fukushima nuclear meltdown is still melting down, still putting radioactive waste and contaminating the waters, and they are still using ocean waters to cool down that particular area. What people don't understand about a nuclear meltdown, the nuclear material gets so hot that it burns through everything. Cement, metal, steel, what is that? Bedrock, it burns through and goes through everything. Give me this. Okay, efforts to decommission and reconstruction. The current situation and Fukushima 2018, contamination Olympics 2020, and 7 years on, radioactive water at Fukushima plant still flowing into the ocean. I already know it without even going here. Okay? Because they can't stop the meltdown. Literally, it will melt down to the core of the earth. And that's what scientists are afraid of, that if that nuclear waste were to get to the core of the earth, that there might be a chemical reaction that could be pretty devastating. That's why a nuclear meltdown is no joke. That's why they take it so seriously. And here they're doing nothing. There is nothing they can do to stop what has already happened. And if you notice, this Fukushima situation happened as a result of a earthquake. And this earthquake wasn't a normal earthquake. They have that wonderful little system called HARP. This is what they do. That Fukushima was on purpose. It was not an accident. And if you think it was an accident, sorry. Sorry that you are so naive and gullible. No, I don't believe in conspiracies. I believe in what I see. The United States did not bother to go and help at the time that it was happening. And then all of a sudden they want to give reports and say the Japanese say they don't want our help. Please, it's a nuclear meltdown. You don't ask them if they want your help. They're supposed to be your allies. Sorry, that is it's called Touch VPN, and it works with Google browsers, Google Chrome browsers. Well, anyway, so Fukushima's plant, if you think that was a mistake, all you got to do is read the stories. All you got to do is listen to what happened. All you got to do is listen to how nobody went in to help for greater than a couple of days. And then by the time they finally did come in to help, it was too late. You see, they didn't explain this damage at first. But when you look at the area views, you'll see that there was a lot of damage. So this was to contaminate the ocean. People knew that they were contaminating our food. See, they put the chemicals in the air. It gets into the plants. It gets into the animals. You eat the animals. You eat the plants. You get sick. You get sick over time. You may not get sick immediately, but the fact is, when they release that, and it's called a trigger, when they release that trigger into the atmosphere, then everybody gets sick all at once. They need to decrease the population. You'll see. And then when it happens, you'll be trying to figure out what to do. I can't tell you now, but I will tell people in the future. But right now, you're just going to have to hold on. And what did my boys say? Hang on in there, baby. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've taken too much time. There is a lot going on. I am trying to make sure that I secure myself. Someone sent some information regarding the contract issue, and I will share that with all of you and then explain how some of it is relevant and how some of it is not relevant in due time. I say to all of you, have a good day, have a good life. And I did the video if this is how someone is to be erased, if they're going to be erased. Ladies and gentlemen, putting out that information about the affidavit and about the contract and then about what Congress did, it didn't dawn on me that they didn't want, well, it did dawn on me, that's why I did the video, but it didn't dawn on me that the Congress didn't want that information getting out. I knew the courts wouldn't want it getting out, but I didn't know that Congress was actually actively going to try to hide the information. That the government printing office would sit up there and claim that it didn't exist. Please, there's too many details in that act. And if they had gotten part of the information from other acts, that's a lot of work for somebody to have done. Okay, there's too many details. Plus, I'm speaking directly with the people. And the gentleman who's in jail, you can look up the court cases and see that these individuals who are involved in this are actual individuals. You can look up Mr. Stark's court case and see what happened. You can see that this information was introduced into the court case. You can see that they tried to convert his motion to a habeas corpus. We are stepping in to correct that for him. I haven't worked on anybody's court case since Francis, because honestly, that took a lot out of me, to be honest. And so I didn't want to get involved with another court case. So I haven't worked on anybody's court case since Francis, but this one, after giving it a lot of thought and knowing the angle to go at, I am working to help facilitate the release of this young man. And we believe that we have at least 6 powerful arguments whereby if that court doesn't do it, the appeals court will have to, because if they don't, we do the same thing the contract did. We make it a catch-22 situation. Either this was the case or it wasn't. And if this was the case, then you can't do that because the law doesn't grant you the authority to do that. Read the statute. There is nothing in the statute that says that you get to do that. But if this is the case, whoo doggy, then somebody's doing something wrong. And so we give them their catch-22. And we give them their way out. They'll come at these guys with a settlement eventually. But one way or another, the issue will not go away. All right. Thank you for letting me take the time. That's an hour and 40 minutes. I wasn't planning on spending an hour and 40 minutes because I'm about to go to sleep. It's nighty-night time. Y'all take care. Have a good day. Have a good life. I hope this information causes some of you to do some more research. And if not, to start planning, to start storing food. I hope that some of you pay attention. I hope that some of you understand the gravity of the information. But I do know that people won't pay attention. But I have to do what I do. Goodbye.